All right. Looks like we've got quite a few folks connecting to audio, getting settled in. Good morning to everyone, and I guess maybe we'll get started now. I'd like to thank you all for being here today. On behalf of Smart Dolphins, I'd like to welcome you to today's co-pilot event. My name is Aria. I am the Business Technology Advisor here at Smart Dolphins. I'm based in Coquitlam, BC, and a member of our growing team here in Greater Vancouver. Now we're on a journey to become BC's preferred IT partner after 24 years this month of managing IT and partnering with small and medium businesses on Vancouver Island. Now, before jumping in, I'd like to quickly share some information on our upcoming events. We've got Microsoft OneNote streaming your workflow. That's going to be Thursday, May the 9th at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Make note of that slight different start time at 9 a.m. We also have the new Microsoft Teams, which I'm using, by the way, Thursday, May 16th at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And cybersecurity for leaders. That's happening Thursday, May the 23rd, also at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Please visit our website to register today. A little bit of housekeeping. Now, if you have any questions during today's session, we ask that you please type them into the chat, and we'll do our best to answer them as we go along. Otherwise, we'll save some time for them at the end of the session if we don't get to it during the session. Please also feel free to download the handout for today's training from the Zoom chat. Now, I'd like to introduce Jolynn, our trainer for today's presentation. It is with great pleasure to welcome Jolynn Reen. Jolynn stands out as a Microsoft Master Trainer and Instructor, having over 30 years of experience. We're incredibly fortunate to have her sharing her knowledge with us today. So without further delay, let's extend a warm welcome to Jolynn.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. As Ari said, we are going to be working with Microsoft Teams, and specifically the Copilot feature that is a part of our Microsoft Teams application. I'm super excited to be demonstrating this for you today. Something that is very near and dear to my heart. Can't live without it these days. So if you went and downloaded the handout, you can use that as a reference tool for when we get done with our session here today. It's going to give you a few examples, some sample prompts and different things that you can be using in Microsoft Teams. So feel free to get that handout downloaded. So first, I just wanted to kind of start with, what exactly is Copilot? So I'm going to open up my Microsoft Teams here so everybody can kind of see that I'm in that application. But when it comes to using Copilot, Copilot is now a part of our 365 suite of applications. It is incorporated into several of the other applications as well as Microsoft Teams. So we can, of course, be using Copilot through your Windows 11. We could be using Copilot in Outlook, PowerPoint, Excel, Microsoft Word, and other programs as well. It's starting to become available in pretty much all of the different applications. But what is it and how does it work? Well, if you're familiar with ChatGPT, or if you've ever heard of AI, artificial intelligence, Copilot is Microsoft's version of being able to utilize the AI tool with being able to chat with a system to get responses back. But when you stop and think about how powerful this tool is, Copilot itself can analyze a group of emails or a single email. We're going to see how it can analyze chats today, how we can work with it in calls, how we can work with it in meetings. It is kind of scary what it does. And I always chuckle when I think about that. If you think about the power behind your Microsoft apps in general, how we connect from one application to another, Copilot does exactly that same thing. It can work with graphical objects, it can work with files and analyze those, or it can analyze the information that you store within your other apps like Outlook. So you're going to see a few examples of that here today as we use communication tools and the collaborating tools that we have available within Microsoft Teams. So just so you know, in your handout, I do have a list of where exactly, as of today, where Microsoft Copilot is available within your apps. Please keep in mind, though, this is a paid for service. So you do have to have a license to be able to utilize the Copilot within Microsoft. So if for some reason you do not see it, it can be because you haven't been granted a license for using Copilot. So if you do follow along on any of the activities that I'm doing here today, just keep that in mind. Also, my settings may be different than your company settings because your admin and my admin might have made some different changes depending on security and different things like that. So everybody's can work and kind of be a little different depending on, of course, those things. So when you come into Microsoft Teams, I first want to talk about, what exactly is it in Teams, and then we need to kind of discuss a few limitations that it's going to have for us. But when you come into Teams, you're going to be able to utilize Copilot from different areas of Teams. We're going to see how we can use Copilot as just an application. We're going to see how we can use Copilot when we're chatting with people or with meetings, whether we're setting up a new meeting or we've already had a meeting. And we'll talk about the difference between those. We can also be using Copilot when we make phone calls. And I'll do a brief demonstration on that as well, just so you can kind of see what are your choices as of today. Now, I'm saying as of today because, of course, Copilot is relatively new and it changes. They've already made changes to it since it was first released, and it's very new. So just like anything else, look for enhancements, look for new features to be added over the next probably life of the Copilot application itself. But usually when something is brand new, we start to see updates, more updates within the first 6 months to a year. So kind of watch for those. And you can always, of course, go to your favorite internet browser. I won't say that G word, Aria. And you could look up the new features or what's coming up as new features, and you can always sign up to receive notifications on those as well. I know I do that because I really want to stay on top of what's coming. Do I know every in and out of this Copilot feature yet? No, but I play every day and I utilize the tools as much as I possibly can. I'm totally taking advantage of what we have available. I want to make sure that I'm using my computer the most efficient way that I possibly can. And I have to tell you, Copilot is like my best friend, especially when it comes to using it in Microsoft Teams. So let's dive in and see some examples of how we actually are going to use it. So first, I'm going to start in the Copilot app itself. So where you go to access this, you could actually go to the chat category when you're in Microsoft Teams from the menu bar on the left, go into chat. At the top, you're going to find the icon Copilot. Once you click Copilot, it opens up a window on the right-hand side, giving you access to the Copilot app. Now, what do I mean by that? Let me just show you something. Let me go to my internet browser here. I'm going to Bing this. And just so you can see, if I'm logged into my Microsoft account, I can actually open up Copilot from here as well. Just by going to my menu bar on the left, I can click Copilot. And just to show you, it gives me similar, if not exactly the same things that I'm seeing when I open this directly in Teams. So just so you know, it is the same app. Now I'm just going to go ahead and close that here from the internet and just use it directly here in Microsoft Teams. I personally love the fact that I can have that available right here because I spend a ton of time in Microsoft Teams. Between that and Outlook, those are my two main programs throughout the day. With that being said, what if I don't want to go to chat, then have to click on Copilot? Is there an easier way to get to it? The answer is yes. You can modify your menu bar on the left-hand side. So let's say that I'm actually in Teams and I want to go to Copilot. I would have to go to chat, click on the Copilot icon. What I normally have on my navigation pane is I pin Copilot. An example of that is go to the ... menu, which is view more apps. From here, if you don't see the Copilot icon, you could search for it. Otherwise, go ahead and click Copilot. It's going to open up exactly the same window as if I went to chat Copilot. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. I don't know the philosophy behind this from Microsoft, but why is it only in chat? I don't know why we're accessing it that way. Anyway, I have a feeling that may change in the future, how we access it. But this is how I access it. Instead of going to chat and having to click on it, if I want to keep this on my navigation pane on the left-hand side, though, you will want to pin it. Otherwise, if you navigate to a different category within Teams, it will go away. If you right-click on the icon, you can left-click on pin. Then it's always going to be here. So if you're navigating to Teams, you're going to chat, whatever, it will always be there. Okay. Now, I want to do just a couple of demonstrations here on using this app. Then I'm going to come back to PowerPoint and talk about a few other things that you need to be aware of when you're utilizing it directly with the tools within the Teams app. Right now, this is the app that's available for usage pretty much anywhere. So basically, let me explain what you're seeing on the screen. You're going to get some suggested prompts. So these little tiles here are going to be suggested prompts. You do have the capability. Let's even tell you, okay, can I help? What can I help you with? Try one of these examples or enter your own prompt. So we technically could go down to the bottom and enter our own prompt if we wanted to. But just so you can see some of the examples, it makes sense. So I have this one prompt here that says, prep for that meeting. What is that meeting that I need to prep for? Remember how I said everything is connected together? Watch this. If I click on this suggestion of prep for that meeting, it's going to bring up a list of meetings. Basically, it uses the slash menu to bring up information that we can search by. I'll explain that a little bit better here in a second. But basically what it's going to do is come up with, these are my upcoming meetings. So if I wanted to prep for a specific meeting, I can go ahead and click on whatever that meeting is, and then I can go to the paper airplane icon on the right and click send. It would then be able to analyze that information, or of course I can be asking information. So, you know, I could ask it like, what is the date of the meeting? You know, so whatever information I need to get out of it, I can be putting in prompts and it's going to automatically analyze that meeting. Even though the meeting is in Outlook, it's in Teams calendar, I can still be doing that right from here. So it's automatically bringing up information related to that meeting. This to me is mind-boggling. It is like, I can't believe it can do this. It is so cool. But if I wanted to continue that conversation, down at the bottom, my cursor is blinking in the chat where I could type a slash, just so you're aware. That's going to be a very common way to use Copilot, just so you're aware. We use the slash all the time, no matter if you're using it in, you know, Windows 11 through Microsoft Edge or wherever you're using it from. But when I do that slash, when I'm down here, it's giving me this all category. where if I want to see things related to any of these most recent things that I've been working with, or if I want to narrow it down by people, I can narrow it down by files. I could go to meetings, or I could go to emails. So if I want to be analyzing specific meetings, I would go to the meeting tab. Then I could have it analyzed and I could ask it questions about a specific meeting. This is pretty cool. But let me go to files for an example. And let's say I have this scope statement template. I wanted to actually dive into the scope statement template. Does this have expectations included? It can actually analyze the file and see if that information is included. It's pretty cool. It's actually extremely smart. And as I said earlier, it's actually kind of scary smart. So you're going to see that it actually came up, and it even gives me a little message at the top that says, does this have the expectation expect? I can't talk today. That's okay. I'll skip over that word. When I prompted it is going to be listed here at the top, and it's showing me the actual document that I was referring to. It's actually giving me a link to go to that document. So if I wanted to open it, I don't have to jump through hoops to go find it again. I have access to it right here. I don't have to worry. So that's pretty cool that we can actually do that. So it actually gave me the information about, does it have that included in it? And it's giving me the instructions on where exactly it is. And by the way, anytime that you're doing a prompt, whether you're in a chat, in a meeting, whatever, if you get this little, it's actually the subnotes, it's linked to specific information. I'm getting this little number 1 here. If I click on that, that's referring to this specific file. I'll show you another example of that in a minute. But I could continue that conversation. Now, one of the things, just a side note, I just read this recently. Copilot is making some changes on the chatting capability, and I think ChatGPT was the one that started this. That, you know how we always had to go and start a new conversation, otherwise it thought you were in that same conversation? It isn't working quite that way anymore. We don't have to switch to a new one, but I still recommend you do. So I just kind of switch topics in the same chat. But if I'm going to go search that chat or go look at the history of it, I've got multiple conversations going on in one. And that's not a good way to manage things. So usually with ChatGPT or here in Copilot, you're going to want to start a new chat every time you have a switch of topics. So just to kind of keep that in mind. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to the top right and I'm going to click new chat. Okay, so I could come back out and I could actually still continue to use these prompts, or of course type in my own prompts like I just did with that file. But I'm going to show you how to use this feature because I use it regularly. What's new? And it says, what's the latest from this specific person organized by email, chats, and files? This is something I seriously use on a regular basis. I'm going to choose student 1. When I do that, I have this down in the prompt down here. I'm going to go ahead and click the paper airplane, so it's automatically going to analyze that specific user and organize the results based on those categories. This to me is absolutely fantastic. I don't personally have to go back and, change my, filter my emails and do all of that. This is directly connected with your systems in the back, all of your Microsoft 365. So notice that it's coming back with emails, chats, files. To me, that is absolutely fantastic. Otherwise, I would have had to go to multiple places, which some of this would have been very difficult to even locate. Like, how do I locate all the files? We have some other tools that we could use, but I'd have to go to 3 different places to do all that. Copilot did it all in one. I'm just blown away by how that all works. But I really want to show you how this all works in other areas as well when it comes to working in Microsoft Teams. But I do need to jump back to PowerPoint for a minute, because there are some limitations that I want you to be aware of. And I know that this is going to be changing throughout, but just so that you know, as of today, this is what I have found to be the current limitations. Um, will that change in the next 6 months? Probably. So keep up on what your limitations are. But Copilot has limitations in the amount of data it can process to answer questions. It only responds in languages supported by Microsoft. It currently is limited on the languages for Copilot, but that's changing as we speak. Copilot can process conversation history up to 30 days old, only up to 30 days old. So if I haven't chatted with a person for the last 30 days, because maybe they were busy on a project and I haven't even seen that person or needed to communicate with them, I can actually go back and search through their previous historical data in the chat. I'm hoping that changes, because for me, sometimes it's going to be from a long time ago and I need that. So I'm not sure if that will change or not. But Copilot in Teams supports English, Spanish, etc. Adapting to a new AI-driven workflow can be a challenge for some users. So when we talk about policies and procedures, about using tools like ChatGPT, Copilot, you should really have a policy that your employees are going to follow when it comes to utilizing this tool. We have to be somewhat careful and not use confidential information and different things like that. So the efficiencies of using it, getting to understand how it works, the more you can train your employees, the better off they will be. They'll be able to go and start using it on the right foot. And prompting is a huge part of that. So definitely you're going to want to do some training to make sure that your coworkers are understanding how to utilize the program, what are the best practices, what shouldn't they be doing. Okay. When we use meetings, and I'll do an example of this for you, the meeting must be transcribed to enable Copilot, unless your meeting organizer enables Copilot without transcription. Some of these settings are based on what your admin has done in the background as well, because they could have turned off transcribing for meetings and Teams. So if something doesn't work appropriately, the way that it should, just talk to your IT department to see if there's a setting that they need to make changes to. Okay. And the big one at the bottom, Copilot won't work in meetings that are hosted outside of the participant's organization, just so you're aware. As of today, is that going to change? I have a feeling it will, because I'm getting a lot of people posting about that on social media. So these are the limitations that we have as of today, May 2nd, 2024. Just keep that in mind. Okay. Now, I will get into working with meetings here in a minute, but I'm going to jump back into Teams, and I want to do a little bit of demonstration when it comes to actually, sorry, I meant to click on my Teams icon. When it comes to actually utilizing this application, it just doesn't want to stay there. When it comes to utilizing Copilot within different areas. So I'm going to be starting with using it in a chat capability. It is a good idea to get to know the icons, because the icons of different features like Loop, Copilot, etc., although they are consistent every place you find them, sometimes the icon is kind of little. So it's hard to recognize it. It's hard to find it. But remember, you do get a screen tip as you hesitate on different icons. But first, I'm going to do a demonstration using it in an actual chat. So I have a chat here that I'm doing back and forth with a coworker, student one. You're going to see that you have your normal chat history of everything that's been going on with that specific user. At the top right, I could go ahead and open Copilot. So at the top right, when you're in the chat, When I open up Copilot, it's actually going to give me a few suggestions. And just a side note, if you do not get suggestions, or if you go to ask it a question and it won't let you ask a question, it will most likely be telling you you don't have anything new to analyze. So depending on the prompt that you're giving it, it may not work if you don't have something brand new. Like if I was, let's say that I was gone for a week. I went on a week's vacation or whatever. When I come back, what I have been doing, because if I'm gone for a whole day, or I traveled last week, when I come back, I go into Copilot and ask it, what have I missed? Well, if it's all been read, if I've already seen it all, I can't go back and say, what did I miss? Because I didn't miss anything. So just keep in mind that some things that you prompt for, it may give you a message saying it doesn't have enough information, or information is not available. There isn't any new information. I've gotten probably about 5 different types of messages because it didn't correspond to what it is that I was trying to prompt for. But just keep that in mind. A second thing to mention too, keep in mind that it can be a little bit slow. If you stop and think about everything that it's doing in the background, how it's accessing your entire system for your organization, and when it's looking things up and doing things, be patient with it. I've had it be a little sluggish sometimes. Even though I'm a direct connect to an internet, I've had it be a little sluggish. Okay, just a side note. I know that they're improving on different things like that though as well. But basically, when I came into Copilot here in this chat, what it's giving me up at the top is get key information from the chat. So it's giving you some suggestions. Try out all the prompts. It's your Copilot, so meaning that you have the capability of starting a conversation and continuing that conversation through the system. But otherwise, it has the prompts that I've previously done. Like, what does student one need help with? I asked that earlier today because I know somewhere in a chat, student one had said they needed help with something. So it automatically is telling me where I can find that information. Have you ever tried to search through your chat, through your chat history? It can somewhat be a little bit difficult to find exactly what it is that you're looking for as you're scanning through it. I have ChatGPT do it. I just asked ChatGPT to find it for me. So you can see that it's giving me this little number 1. If I click on it, it highlights in red where that chat was. So it was a temporary highlight on that conversation. So that's pretty cool that it does that. I really like that. And then it came back with, I'm sorry, but I am not capable of scheduling meetings or performing any active actions. I had asked it if it could schedule a meeting with student one. Kind of forgot where I was. It doesn't allow us to do that as of today. Is it going to do that? I believe it does. In a future update to to Copilot, it is going to be able to, we'll be able to say from right here, be able to say, I want to schedule a meeting with this person on this day, blah, blah, blah. We can do that in other areas a little bit, but it will be incorporated here shortly. But otherwise, just so you're aware, if you go to the bottom of the chat and you click where it says more prompts, it's going to give you some suggestions, like highlights from the past day, highlights from the past 7 days, which I use that all the time. So let me know the highlights from the past 7 days, especially if I was gone. Highlights from the past 30 days, what discussions were made, or decisions, sorry. What are the open items? It can do any of those. So if I say highlights from the past day, it's going to analyze the conversation that I had back and forth with that specific person and come back and let me know what those were. So it's got a little brief description, and then it's going to give me the takeaways. Isn't that awesome? I think this is, I got the shivers. It just is, it's doing the work for us, which is fantastic. So these are things that you can be doing just by opening Copilot when you are in a previous conversation with someone else. This is one way you can use it. When you are done, if you no longer want the Copilot window open anymore, go to the Copilot icon at the top right, click on it again, and it will close it. So it's a toggle button. You click to open it, click to close it. So get familiar with that icon for Copilot. So this is how it looks. It doesn't have any color to it. It's just very generic, because we can use Copilot when you actually type a message as well. So if I go in to type a message like, can you send me the documentation for the executive committee meeting for next week? Thanks. If I'm typing a message in and I'm not real sure if that's how I should word it, I can actually go to the icons down here at the bottom of this chat, this prompt window, and I can click Copilot. It automatically is going to select that line of data that I had typed in. It's going to give you the capability of doing a rewrite, or we can do adjustments. I'm going to click rewrite first. I use this all the time because sometimes when I write something, I don't know what my brain is doing when I'm writing it. So I am definitely taking advantage of having Copilot help me. So I would appreciate it if you would share the documentation for the executive committee. So this is the replacement that it's giving me. I'm going to click replace. But what if I'm not real sure? That might be a little formal for what I actually wanted. I'm going to go back and click Copilot again. Another option that you have is adjust. When you go to adjust, you're going to have make it or make it sound. So I could make it more concise, I could make it longer, or I could make it more casual, professional, confidential, or enthusiastic. I usually talk enthusiastic, but I'm going to say casual. So when I do that, it's automatically generating the response. So now it's going to replace it with, hey, can you please send me the docs for the exec meeting next week? That's pretty casual. And that's usually how I talk, especially when it comes to a chat. I'm chatting with a coworker. It's not something that I'm chatting with the president of the organization, the CEO, that kind of thing. So I would probably be okay with it just like that. So once again, if I want to keep it, I just click off. But if I want to replace it with their suggestion, I can click replace. Then of course, I can go ahead and click send, and it will automatically send that off. Now, both my other devices just automatically received that message. So if you heard that ding, I'm using it on my phone. I have another user logged in on my phone and on my tablet as well. So just so you know, Copilot and Microsoft, can be used on other devices. But they do have to have a license to be able to utilize Copilot. Keep that in mind. But Copilot is available mobile. But I want to talk about a couple of other things when it comes to using Copilot. I keep saying ChatGPT. When it comes to using Copilot within Microsoft Teams, I'm going to go to Microsoft Teams. So the actual Teams part of Microsoft Teams. So on the left-hand side, I'm going to go to Teams. And where we would utilize Copilot from here, well, there's different apps that are going to be having Copilot a part of it. So we could have Copilot in Loop, we can have it in OneNote notebooks, we can have it in other apps. But for today, I'm going to stick to just team related. So I'm actually going to go to, well, I'll just stay here on I'm on my accounting department team. I'm in a channel called the accounts payable, and I'm on the post tab. When you are using the post, it's like having your chat like I was just in. So you're going to see similar features when it comes to creating a post. Now, this is where I might be a little bit more formal, because this is not just going to one coworker back and forth kind of a thing, which, by the way, we can use Copilot in a group chat. So if I was just chatting with one person, but if I were chatting with 5 people from my executive committee, I might wanted to change that action to be a little bit more professional than the casual that I did, just to keep that in mind. But when I do a post in a team like this, I usually keep it a little bit more professional unless I want it enthusiastic or something, because I'm, trying to get people excited about the project we're working on and things like that. Just so you know, you can utilize similar, if not exactly the same features. So I'm going to go up to the top. I have mine organized that I'm seeing mine at the top. You can have your post go to the bottom or to the top. That's a feature. But I'm going to just click start a new post. When I click start a new post, I'm going to put in the subject and then I'm going to type in what the message is. And I'm going to say executive project underway. Little excitement there with that exclamation mark. I could come in here and I could type in what I want to say to everybody. Are you ready for the next steps on implementing the executive project? We are excited to get started. I know that's a little long. Sorry, I'll keep it with just that. When I do that, notice we have this Copilot icon down at the bottom. Once again, it took me a long time to find that icon. I'm like, I thought it was supposed to be here. I'm looking all over for it. And then I realized it was down here. So get yourself kind of familiar with what the icons look like loop components. When that first came out, it took me a little bit to find that one as well. But kind of looks, it reminds me of a hot dog with a bun. When the icon is so small, that's kind of my thought process on it. But if you click on it, it's automatically going to do the same thing as it did in the chat. It automatically highlights it. We get the capability of rewriting or doing the adjust options like we saw with the chat. So here's an option of what it gave me to rewrite it. How are you doing with the preparation for the executive project? We look forward to working with you on this. If I want to replace it, I click replace it. It's automatically going to replace it. Otherwise, of course, if I want to adjust it and I want to make it more enthusiastic, it could rewrite it based on more enthusiasm. I can't say that word either today. I'm having a hard time talking today. Sorry. But I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, I want to go ahead and replace that. Otherwise, of course, you can always click off, and then when you're done, you do your normal post. So taking advantage of having this built in to help you write things has become a very common day-to-day feature for me. Yes, I write it and I want to tweak it for how I personally say things or how my organization wants things said. But this has been such a helpful tool that it is just shocking for me. So chatting, whether you're in the chat or you're doing a post, you might use a little bit different of a tone when you're doing those. But otherwise, they have some very similar features to them, just so you're aware. So that would be a little bit of using it that way. I'm going to actually jump back to the left and I'm going to go to chat. I want to talk about two more topics here. I want to talk about meetings and calls. So I'm coming back into chat because from chat, I have these meetings that I've recently done. So if a meeting has already been conducted, if you have a previous meeting that you go to, which by the way, when you come to the chat, these are Teams meetings. So the key to this is they have to be Teams meetings, not Zoom meetings. Zoom does its own thing. But here in Microsoft Teams, if I have a previous meeting that was transcribed and they said to use Copilot, we could go ahead and utilize Copilot features within a previous meeting. What I mean by that is at the top right, there again is that Copilot icon. So just like when I was in a regular chat within the chat, but now I'm on an icon of meetings. If I click on that, it's going to open up Copilot on the right-hand side. Now, this particular one, I do not, the one that I clicked on, yeah, this one doesn't have anything that it's going to be able to analyze. So it comes back with this chat needs more conversation to generate a response. So that one's not really going to give me anything. But in a typical situation, it would. So a lot of times when you go back to a meeting, it's going to allow you to then ask questions about the meeting. Or you go to the tabs at the top of the meeting. where this is where you get into the historical data as to what happened with your meeting. If there were any files that were saved during it, you'll find those files. There's a recap tab. The recap tab to me is absolutely fantastic because it allows you to go back to any recordings, any transcripts, things like that. But on the right-hand side, if we had the transcripts to this, we would be able to go in and further ask questions of Copilot. Now, I don't have any in here today that I can demonstrate for you on that, but just so you know, this is a feature you will have access to if you are going to be recording or transcribing your meetings and using Copilot. Now, how do we actually set up a meeting to do that? I'm going to go to the left-hand side to my calendar. When you go into the calendar, you can schedule a new meeting, and I'll just go into a new Teams meeting here. You want to set up the meeting appropriately. So first you're going to, of course, put in the title of what the meeting is. I'm just going to say status updates. I'm going to say that student 1 is required to attend. I'll keep it for this date and time. I really would fill out, normally I would fill out other information like putting in, adding an agenda. I would do things like that. By the way, I love this new feature for adding in an agenda. It's actually utilizing the loop component, because every time you're inviting people, there really should be an agenda. They need to know what the meeting is going to entail. But anyway, just so you're seeing that. On the right-hand side, you have your meeting options. If you go to where it says record and transcribe automatically, as soon as you start the meeting, all of that is going to start. It's going to start the recording and it's going to transcribe anything that has been said. Otherwise, you do have more options. When you click on the more options, mine's telling me I have some things locked. I didn't have that a little while ago. Sorry, not quite sure why that did that, but anyway, you really want to pay attention to this anytime you're doing a meeting, even if you're not going to use Copilot. So are people going to bypass the lobby? Who can present? Do you want microphones on? All of this should be set up prior to the meeting. Not that you can't make some of these changes once you start the meeting, but you should really consider getting this to be a habit when you are scheduling a meeting. There's enable a green room that we have now available. Oh, mine is grayed out. So that could be what I have locked. I hope this is not going to affect the demonstration I was going to do. Sorry, it looks like I might be having some technical difficulty on this. But it says allow Copilot. This is where I could say during or after the meeting, I want to allow Copilot to be available to use through the transcription and or the recording. If I had said do it during the recording, or if I said if we're not going to record, I could still transcribe the meeting, and then Copilot could take advantage of either the recording with a transcription, or it could be just the transcription, just so you know you have that choice. It concerns me that mine is grayed out, so I must be having something weird happen. But once you're done making these changes, go ahead and click save. So that when you go to conduct your meeting, so when we go and we're done setting it all up and we go to actually start the meeting. So if we want to, and I'm going to go ahead and send this. I'm going to send that to my student 1 so that they can join this meeting with me. What's going to happen then is as soon as you start that meeting, I'm going to go ahead and start this meeting, even though it's not scheduled for just yet. I want you to see what your choices are. Let me bring that over here. Sorry. Whoops. Sorry, I got to bring that window over here. So I'm going to keep my camera off, and I'm actually going to turn off my microphone, and I'm going to click join. So I'm in a meeting inside a meeting, basically. But basically what you're going to see is the recording has started. Oops, I better unmute myself. So it's going to start transcribing. See how it's all automatically transcribing down here? So as you are doing a meeting and you're talking, this person is talking, it knows who is doing the talking, because you can actually see, we have different settings that the computer does know whoever is doing the talking. So as you're going through your meeting, if you're recording and transcribing and you're going to take advantage of Copilot, you're going to be able to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep talking and it's going to transcribe everything. But what if you show up to the meeting a little late? Did you know that you could actually join the meeting? And if they're doing Copilot or if they're doing transcribing with this, I could actually go to the menu up at the top, click Copilot, and I could, sorry, mine's not working correctly right now, and I apologize for that. But I would have been able to say, what did I miss? It knows what happened since I came into the meeting. So I can just simply ask it, what have I missed? And it's going to give me a recap. Also, we're going to be able, and this is in your handout, by the way. I've got information about using it in a channel, whatever, but I've also got things based on meetings, which starts in your handout on page 11. So different things that you can do is recap the meeting so far. We could say list action items. So if we talked about things that need to be done, it can actually make an actions list. And if we say it was this person, as of right now, it's going to document that, Brenda is going to do this, Mark is going to do this, etc. It's going to actually document all of that. So we're going to be able to generate that out of the transcriptions and the recording when we are done. Also suggest follow-up questions as an option. And these are listed in your handout, so you don't have to memorize what I was talking about, but list the main ideas we discussed, or generate meeting notes. Boy, has that ever saved a lot of time. That I use every single meeting that I do. Now, I did give you some information about doing effective meetings using Copilot. So having an effective meeting, where do we discuss, where do we disagree on a topic is something that you can actually be asking. How did a participant respond to something? We could be asking Copilot that. What questions can I ask to move the meeting forward? So if we kind of have kind of a lull in the meeting and stuff, it can help us generate some things that we could bring up or discuss. Where are some of the holes in the meeting participants? Were they not in agreement on something? Copilot can help us determine that, or create a table of ideas discussed and their pros and cons. These are just some suggestions of having an effective meeting using Copilot. So during this whole time, I've been recording this. I'm going to go back and I'm going to actually stop it. I'm going to cancel the meeting, close it out for everybody. Now, of course, I was the only participant in that specific meeting, but just so you're getting the idea. So once that meeting has been conducted, if it were part of a channel, you could go to the channel, but this was just conducted based on a standard meeting. So if I go back to my chat, I will be able to see that status updates. Because of the fact that I'm having difficulty with that Copilot, it was locked out for the moment right now. I'm not able to do any of the demonstration, unfortunately, of, the recap of the meeting, telling it to write me the meeting notes and things like that. But I do have that in your handout if you want to take a look at that. Okay, I'm so sorry. I really utilized that feature and I used it this morning and it was working fine. So I apologize. I don't know why it's not letting me do that right at the moment. But it does discuss in your handout also on page 12, use Copilot without recording a Teams meeting. You still have to have the transcription working, even if you're not recording the meeting, then you'll be able to generate information back out. So continuing on the next page, it talks about using it. So before the meeting, this is how you could set it up. Or if you're in the meeting, here's how you can set it up. After the meeting, here's what you can do. So I gave you the kind of that step-by-step instructions on how you're going to be able to utilize that. So the screenshot on page 14 is what I was supposed to be showing you, where it says allow Copilot, but mine was grayed out. During and after the meeting, or only during the meeting. I usually want to have Copilot available during and after. I don't know why I would ever do it just for during the meeting, because after I still want it to be able to analyze the recording or the transcript. So just so you know, you do have a choice on that. So it's going to give you some better details on how you can utilize that through the meeting, where unfortunately I'm not able to demonstrate that like I had planned. Sorry about that. Let me see if it will give me any help with a phone call. Because calls have similarities to utilizing like meetings where it can give us a recap and stuff. So let me see if that the computer will, my Copilot Teams will let me do that here. I'm actually going to start a call, and I'm going to say that I actually want to call student one. So I'm going to call my coworker here. It's going to go off on my phone here. Sorry. Oops. Well, let me get to my window to answer the call. Here, let me answer it on this one. I'm going to put my device on. Sorry. I have it on mute, but so anyway, here it's automatically recording this conversation. I'm going to see if I can kind of hide that a little bit so it's not hearing me, because it kind of sometimes will think that two people are talking. It's kind of loud. But anyway, when you are having a phone conversation with somebody, you know how you can share files, and it's just like having a meeting, but we are in an actual phone call. Now, just so you can see, I'm in this phone call and it's transcribing everything that it is that I'm doing. If I click on Copilot, I can do start transcription. It's working here. I'm not quite sure why it wasn't working when I was doing a meeting, but this is going to give you everything that it does, just so that you can see. So the transcription has been started, so I'm going to be able to analyze this information after I get done with the phone call. This is exactly how it would work if you were doing this in a meeting. Sorry, for some reason it's not working in the meeting for me. But let's say that I'm actually, did they mention using pivot tables? So if I want to actually ask it a question, I can ask it a question and it will go through what it is that we had already transcribed. It can go back and answer that information. Sorry, I thought I wanted to do something else. But just so you can see, once I'm done with this phone call, and or if this were a meeting, I can go ahead and click leave. Thank goodness it shut it off on my other device. So that's not going on in the background. But what that's going to do then is give me access to the transcriptions of that call that we had. One way to access recaps of that call is to go back to the call category on the left-hand side. Like if it were a meeting, you go back to the meeting details, you can click recap, and then you can ask it questions like, do meeting notes for me, that kind of thing. So here I have this outgoing call that I did to student one. When I hesitate on it, right-hand side, I can click recap. It opens Copilot automatically. This is how it normally would work if you did this in a meeting. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to demonstrate that. No, they did not mention using pivot tables in the transcript. Did they say anything about the next meeting? So we can continue to have a conversation with the transcript or recording that was done during that conversation or during that meeting. And the best part about that is when you have multiple people that are participating, we could go back and say, what did student one reply to this comment? We don't have to sit and read through the transcription or try and watch the video to get it. We can have Copilot address those for us. This can be done when we are doing, of course, one-on-one meetings, one-on-one phone calls, group meetings with lots of people, private meetings, different types of Teams meetings, because of course there's more than just the regular meeting. We can be doing several different types we won't go through all those today, but we can do channel meetings. We could even be utilizing these tools if we do a meet now. So the requirements for using it with the calls is really the same as what we would use if we were recording the meeting or transcribing the meeting. There isn't a lot that would be different with that. But at the end of the handout, I did give you some facts to it's kind of a here's a question, here's the response. An example would be if Copilot is set to only during the meeting, does Copilot start as soon as the meeting starts? No, because we didn't say record when the meeting starts. So once Copilot starts, can I turn it off? Once Copilot starts, it will be on for the duration of the meeting. So this is just kind of, here's a question, here's what the answer is. These are the most commonly questions asked as of today. So if you're kind of wondering about something, these facts that actually start in your handout on page 19 will be a great little list to kind of go back through. But a couple of other things that I wanted to kind of show you on this PowerPoint: requirements for your Copilot meetings. You have to have the transcripts or recording turned on. Make enough meeting time where participants have enough meeting time where participants have been speaking. If there isn't enough time to transcribe, you might want to hold off on it. Copilot will state that it needs more information before responding. So if you try and ask it a question right at the beginning of the meeting, it's probably not going to have that information generated just yet because we haven't talked about it or whatever. Ensure the meeting was created by someone within your organization. If a meeting was created by an external participant, Copilot won't be available in that meeting. If external participants are invited, but not the meeting organizer, Copilot will still be available in the meeting, just so you're aware of that. I do expect those to change. This is actually, if you want to look this up, this is a great video that you could be watching to give you further kind of, especially since I wasn't able to actually do that demonstration on the meetings. The calls is very similar, but look up this video called top 3 tips on using Microsoft Copilot in Teams. I believe she's probably the best that I've seen for videos out there. So maximizing your meetings with Copilot, it's kind of a good little video to watch. But I just want to say, this is the way that it is today. Keep in mind that this is going to change. They're going to kind of fix some things that people have been kind of saying, I wish it would do this. They are hearing some responses. So I'm going to assume that Microsoft is probably going to jump on a few of these right away. I'm not happy with the fact that I can't use Copilot if somebody else they're outside of my organization. Because a lot of times for me, when I come into a meeting, if I missed a few things, I want to get that recap. Yes, I can get the recap after the fact, because just so you know, another feature with the meetings, sorry, I couldn't demonstrate this, but you could actually have it create an email giving a recap of the meeting that you're going to be able to send out to everybody that was a participant or everybody that needs access to it. So it's got some wonderful features, and I did give you a lot of detail about those features throughout your handout, just so you're aware. So were there any questions that anybody has that we can help you with here today?
Hi, Jolynn.
Hi.
You did such a good job. I don't have a single question for you. That's how
And
well you did today. Fun.
I gotta find out what was wrong with the meeting thing. It's weird that it works in call, but it didn't work in meeting. I'm
Gotta love tech for that, right?
I
There you
know.
go.
I'll have to check that out
I'll
right
give
away.
people a quick moment if there are any questions. And as we mentioned at the onset, we can also spend a couple extra minutes after this call for anyone who has any questions. So I'll give it a couple more seconds here.
Sounds good.
Thank you, by the way, for the great presentation. I learned quite a few things today as well.
You're welcome. Seriously, I use it every day.
And the fact
I
that it's
just love it.
continuously evolving is even more exciting.
Yes. But the ability, if you're busy for a couple of days and then you come back to work and you want to, find out what you missed, 100% this is how I use it. And I'm serious about having that pinned to the left-hand side. I'm not exactly sure why Microsoft didn't already do that. They put it in the chat for whatever reason, because it's definitely more than a chat tool. Can use it in
Right.
so many other places and ways.
Yeah, Jolene, I got a message here from Marg that she sent you a direct chat. Not sure
Oh,
if you can open yours up because I can't see yours. If you'd be so kind.
let me see if I have one in here. Oh, yes, I do. Can it analyze an Excel document that has multiple summaries of discussion in the files portfolio of Microsoft Teams in our channel, or a prompts just for retrieving information? Can it do a two-step function? You're going to want to utilize it more so directly within the Excel document based on what I'm reading, based on what you were asking. Because if you have Copilot and you open that Excel file, you have Copilot directly in Excel, and it has the full capabilities when it's actually in the document. Little bit limited depending on the size of the document and how it's organized as well. Using it through Teams would not be as easy. Highly recommend directly through the app instead. Okay,
Thanks for that great question, Marg. Appreciate it. And thank you for the response, Jolene.
absolutely.
I guess we don't have anything else right now. So I think if there are no further questions, we're going to wrap it up for today. I
Okay,
want to again thank you, Jolene, for this great session
absolutely.
today. For those on the line here, for any trading related questions, please feel free to reach out to us at training@smartdolphins.com and visit our website to catch up on our upcoming events. For any other business inquiries, please also feel free to contact us at info@smartdolphins.com. And here's a quick reminder of our upcoming events. Microsoft OneNote, streamlining your workflow, Thursday, May 9th at 9 a.m. Pacific time. The new Microsoft Teams, Thursday, May 16th at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And Cybersecurity for Leaders, Thursday, May 23rd at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Again, please visit our website for details and registration. Thank you so much for joining us today and wishing everyone a wonderful afternoon. Thanks again, Jolene. Enjoy the rest of
Thanks.
your day.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.